reading so beautifully. So, as I often do in preparing for my sermons, I will run pieces of that sermon by different people in order to get some feedback, in order to be able to gauge the comments that I want to offer. And I wanted to start with a joke, so I ran it by my kids. They said it was too long. So I ran it by my mother. She said it wasn't appropriate. I ran it by my wife. She said it had nothing to do with the sermon. So you're not going to hear the joke. Oh, okay, I'll tell you the joke then. The joke goes like this. There's a woman, she's horribly distraught. She brings her duck to the vet. It's a good joke. You know the joke. The duck is not alive. She brings it to the vet. This is where my mother said it's not appropriate. The vet says, "I'm sorry, your duck has passed." The woman says, "It's not possible. Listen to it with your stethoscope." The vet listens to the duck with his stethoscope, and there's no breath. And he says, "I'm really very, very sorry. Your duck is no longer with us." She says, "It's impossible. I refuse to accept that." He goes out, he gets a black Labrador retriever. The dog comes in, jumps up on the table, sniffs the duck, shakes its head, walks out. And the vet says to the woman, "I'm sorry, but your duck is no longer of this earth." She says, "It's impossible. It can't be. I can't accept this." So he goes out, he gets a little itty-bitty cat. Cat comes in, jumps up on the table, smells the duck, lets out a little soft meow, and walks out of the room. The vet says, "You see, this duck isn't for this world." And the woman says, "It's impossible." The vet can't argue anymore with her. He goes to his computer, he types in some numbers, he spits out a receipt and gives it to her, and it's $150. She says, $150 to tell me that my cat is dead? My duck is dead, sorry. $150 to tell me that my duck is dead? Well, I'm glad you're still with me. I was concerned because somebody told me it was too long a joke. And she says, "I can't believe you're charging me $150 to tell me that my duck is dead." And the vet turns to her and he says, "You know, if you'd come in here and just accepted what I said, it would have been $20. But you ordered a lab test and a CAT scan." It's a good joke. A lab test and a CAT scan. You still don't get it over there. Labrador Retriever is the lab test.
And Sharon was right. It has to do with the
Sharon was right. It has nothing to do with the sermon, but I was dying to tell that joke. The truth is, in life, it's hard sometimes to accept things. There's the transition. Sometimes, no matter how great we are, no matter how confident we seem to be on the outside, sometimes it's difficult to accept that greatness within. We're easily able to accept the criticism. In fact, we replay it over and over and over again in our heads. We say to ourselves, "They must be right. I'm not good at what I think I am. They must be right that I haven't prepared enough or that I'm not qualified." And we replay those negative comments in our heads over and over and over again. But the compliments, for some reason, never seem to sink in. I don't know why it is that so many of us are wired that way, that we can't accept the things we've accomplished. Hayden, you did great this morning. But I know that you're going to go home and you're going to replay the pauses. I hope you replay time and time again the fact that you couldn't put yourself back together after I told a great joke. But you did great today. And one of the wonderful things about becoming a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah is to be able to go back your entire life and say, "You wouldn't believe what I was able to accomplish. I did great today." And you have to learn to own that. In fact, all of us in our lives need to learn to own our accomplishments and be quicker to dismiss the criticisms. Halavai, wouldn't it be great if we were all that way? That we could dismiss the criticisms and appreciate the achievements. In this week's Parsha, along a list of gifts that were brought to the tabernacle in its dedication, we have the following phrase: V'ish et kidoshav lo, yihiyu ish asher yiten lekohen lo yihiyeh. That every person is supposed to bring something of their own and give it to the priest. And then it will become the property of the priest. But what's critical in that sentence isn't that you've given it over, it's that it was yours to give in the first place. That you owned what it was that you gave away. You can't take somebody else's achievement and make it your own. You can't take credit for somebody else's work and say it was yours. Says the Torah, if you're going to bring a gift to the tabernacle, it has to be yours to start with. And if it's yours to start with, then you have to say, I own it. It was mine. And because it was mine, kidoshav, it is holy. The Gemara in Brachot says the following: Ish asher yiten lekohen lo yihiyeh mamon harbeh. It's got to be his own to give, says the Gemara. In order for us to be able to give something to someone else, we have to own it. You know the very famous statement, V'ahavta l'recha kamocha. You should love your neighbor as yourself. But in order to love your neighbor as yourself has been taught so many times, you have to first love yourself. If you're going to own your accomplishment, you have to say, it is mine. We're so quick to own our mistakes, to replay them. Maybe we ought to spend some time owning our accomplishments, saying, I was able to do this. The academic world confers degrees. We gave you, Hayden, a certificate. It's so that you'll be proud of what you've been able to accomplish. It's so that you can show other people what you've been able to accomplish. But it's equally in order for you to show yourself, to remind yourself of the accomplishments of what it means to have mastered text in Torah, to have mastered a speech that you wrote yourself. The same is true of all of us in our own lives. We have to learn to own those accomplishments, to look at the diplomas we have on our walls and say to ourselves, look at what I was able to do. Will it compel us to greater activity? Our Torah hopes so. Will we do better in the world? Will we foist and leverage our accomplishments to make the world even better? God asks that of you. But first, do the first step, and that is to own your own accomplishment. Owning it is incredibly important. V'lo od el hasof shenitztarech lahem shene'amar v'ish et kidoshav yihiyeh lo. The Gemara goes on to say, everybody has something holy in them. So own it. There's something special about you. So own it. Says the Torah in this week's Parsha, maybe it's time to let go of some of the mistakes and to hold tighter those accomplishments, those achievements, those things that you dreamed about doing and then you were able to. To replay those great catches is incredibly important. To own your intelligence and your creativity and your kindness, your generosity, your sincerity. Those are values our tradition holds at its core. And you have those embedded in your DNA. And you will share them with the world, but first, own them. Says this morning's Parsha, it's easy to hear criticism. We're used to listening to it. We actually listen more carefully for it. Says this morning's Parsha, try the positive as well. Don't live in the negative. Own your accomplishments, and you'll feel better about yourself. And when you feel better about yourself, you'll make the world a better place. Shabbat Shalom. We continue with Musaf, page 184. Please rise.